Hello to you everybody, wherever you may be, it's Foxy speaking, and welcome to a long-awaited episode of Foxy's Fun Inspirational Chats. And today I will be your host. And in this episode, this is a story about a little boy who goes on a zoo adventure. It was one Saturday morning. One Saturday morning in a nice little village lived a couple and their son in a little bungalow village cottage. The little boy's name was Wilfred, or Wilf for short, as he was so known. He lived with his mum and dad, and one Saturday morning, Wilfred woke up in excitement. "We're going to the zoo today! It's zoo day!" He jumped out of bed in excitement and rushed over to his parents' bedroom, only to find they were already getting up. "Morning, son," their parents said. "We're going to the zoo today." Wilfred was excited. He tried to hold it in and keep himself calm, but he just could not help himself. Wilfred loved the visit to the zoo because he loved all kinds of interesting animals. So, with that, Wilfred got himself dressed. He brushed his teeth, had his breakfast, after his parents had their tea and breakfast. And once all the breakfast was done, Wilfred and his parents set out of the house, locked up the front door of the cottage, and went into the car. They went into the car to drive off to the zoo. The zoo was quite a way away, or not too far. It was around about a 30-40 minute drive from their cottage, so it wasn't going to be a too long or burdensome journey for them to hit the road on. After a good 30-40 minute drive, Wilfred and his parents arrived at the zoo. At the zoo, once upon arrival, they went over to the gatekeeper to pay their entry fee. Once the entry fee was paid, Wilfred and his parents walked in, entering the zoo, the land of enchantment. The zoo was after a brick gateway entrance to suddenly the openness of pathways and pictures of all animals from afar, with pictures of where to find the penguins or the flamingos or the lions, the tigers, or the polar bears. Or the llamas and things, and kangaroos, and the fennecs and all that. There were directions in all different places, so that not only Wilfred and his parents could find out where to find things, but where other people visiting the zoo could find other things. Find where to find certain animal enclosures as per interest, or appealing to their interest in things. Wilfred and his parents began to look around to see what would interest them, or as per their suited interest. But then there was a little gift shop which captured Wilfred's father's attention. "Oh, do be assured, I'll be back in a moment," Wilfred's father said, and walked over to the gift shop, because Wilfred's father wanted to purchase a gift for Wilfred himself, since Wilfred had a keen interest in zoo animals. And since he had a keen interest in animal nature, he decided to get him a toy animal, if he could find one. So it left Wilfred and his mother looking around to see what enclosure they would like to see. Before long, they were interested in finding something. They were going to take a look at the penguins. On a big top balcony-like wall, looking down, was the penguins in the ice water and icicles. As Wilfred and his mother were peering down, looking at the penguins in the ice water, and what the penguins were doing, observing their every move and what they were getting up to and things, Wilfred's father came back with a nice toy tiger for Wilfred himself. Wilfred thanked his father profusely for the toy tiger that he got him in the gift shop. The mother was also very thankful to the father for getting him for proactively and generously getting Wilfred such a nice zoo gift. As Wilfred and his parents continued observing the penguins with interest, Wilfred was getting so engrossed with looking at the penguins, this is when the trouble began. As the toy tiger was sitting on the balcony, there was a slight gust of wind. The wind was strong enough to push the tiger into the water. The toy tiger fell and landed in the water. Horrified, Wilfred peered down to see where the tiger went. He couldn't see, but wasn't watching what he was doing. And only too late, Wilfred's parents noticed him leaning over onto the balcony, falling into the penguins' water in the penguin enclosure. Splash! In Wilfred fell into the water. Wilfred tried to swim, but the water was frozen cold like icicles. But there he saw his toy tiger. Once he saw the toy tiger, he grabbed hold of it immediately, but couldn't swim upwards. And this is when the trouble began, that he had fallen into the water, only to alert zoo security and zoo staff. As Wilfred was slowly beginning to sink down into the water where the penguins were, nearly to the part where there was the underground enclosure of the penguins, a big, large penguin was swimming underneath. So could he be in luck? This is possible. The large penguin noticed the struggling Wilfred struggling to swim up because of how cold the water was. So the large penguin swam its way to Wilfred's rescue. Getting onto Wilfred's rescue, Wilfred mounted himself onto the large penguin's back as if it was a riding mount, and off the penguin began swimming, and swam up and up and up to nearly the balcony part where the penguins were. And once he got to the balcony part, all the zoo staff were just standing beside, worried about the poor little boy Wilfred. Once the penguin got to the floor in the penguin enclosure, near to the balcony zone, but about a foot or so down for the balcony version, all the zoo staff immediately came to Wilfred's rescue, but Wilfred was smiling because the large penguin, proactively saved his life and saved him from drowning to death. The penguin, before Wilfred wanted to go anywhere after the zoo staff got him onto the land, Wilfred looked at the penguin smiling. The penguin looked at Wilfred only to give him a little wink and splash, swam right back into the water to do its own thing. The zoo staff escorted Wilfred to his parents. Wilfred's parents were worried, but seeing Wilfred, they were just so relieved to see that Wilfred was okay, and Wilfred smiling as if nothing bad had happened, but was soaking wet and frozen cold from head to foot. So the zoo staff wrapped some towels around Wilfred, and his parents cuddled him down after he fell into the penguin water in the penguin enclosure. but all were happy that he was fine. Fortunately, Wilfred did not go down with hypothermia, which was the main relief to Wilfred's and the zoo staff's, Wilfred's parents and the zoo staff's relief. After Wilfred was dried off enough sufficiently, Wilfred and his parents began exploring many other enclosures of the zoo, observing all the other zoo animals that were to be seen within the zoo itself. Aside from the wacky adventure, the wacky unexpected adventure, the overall zoo trip was a fantastic experience for both Wilfred and his parents. And at the end of the day, it was time to go home. Wilfred, despite being in an accident in the zoo, he could reflect on the adventure with much happiness that, yes, something scary happened, but a penguin saved his life. And from that, and after the zoo accident, Wilfred was like, when I grow up, I want to work with penguins. Wilfred's parents smiled. A penguin saved your life, didn't he? He did, Wilfred said, smiling. Wilfred couldn't have been happier that a penguin, when he and his parents and the zoo staff could have least expected it, would save his life from potentially drowning to death. Wilfred had a memory that's going to sustain him long term and long into his future. He couldn't have been a happier little boy after an adventurous but very interesting zoo visit. The end. May I thank each and every one of you most greatly sincerely for taking the time with watching and listening to this very latest Foxy's Fun Inspirational Chats episode. It's certainly been a long time since I've last done one, but here it is for all of you now. And definitely try and get a few more done come February 2025. Thank you all, everybody indeed, for watching this very episode of the Foxy's Fun Inspirational Chats. And the inspirational live streams, like I've said before, are by no means at all a replacement for the Inspirational Chat series, to assuredly tell all of you. Thank you all for watching, goodbye, and may happiness be knocking kindly on your doorstep.